in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like
everything
a doctor.
is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
It's also worth giving out that on top of Donald Trump's admission of guilt here, where he says that he'd go into the dressing rooms, there'd be naked people inside, they'd look great, he'd get away with it, sexual exploitation. We also have the testimony of many victims.
Hey,
Tasha
Dean.
Dixon.
Hey, Dean, question for you. Did he ever say dressing rooms in that clip?
He described dressing rooms.
Oh, really? He said backstage.
He said he'd go through the backstage into a place where men were...
No, he didn't. He said he went backstage where people were getting dressed.
Wait, 1 second. You dispute that he said that he went into a place backstage where men weren't allowed, where women were naked?
He didn't say where men weren't allowed. Did he say men weren't allowed?
Yeah, where men were anywhere. That means that men weren't allowed.
No, he didn't say that. He said that people, he's allowed to go backstage because
also,
of the owner of the pageant. Because most people aren't allowed backstage at a pageant if they don't work for the pageant. He said backstage.
Did he explicitly say no men were around?
I don't know if he said that, but he definitely didn't say dressing rooms.
What he said.
Okay, I said I wasn't sure if he said that. I couldn't remember.
Listen, I'll give you.
But he definitely didn't say dressing rooms. That's a lie.
Listen,
you lied. Can you admit you lied? Admit you lied right now. Admit you lied.
I did not lie.
Okay, you said that he went. You said that he said he went into dressing rooms.
I said
didn't say that.
Dressing rooms. It's actually
no. You said that he admitted he went into dressing rooms.
Yes, he admitted.
He never said that. No, he didn't. He never said he went into dressing rooms. He said he went backstage, which is completely different.
The reason why I say that Donald Trump admitted to going into dressing rooms is because what he describes in the clip is a dressing room. He says that he went backstage, A, into a place where men were not anywhere, B, into a place where he had abused his special authority as the owner of the pageant to enter into that space under the guise of doing
This sounds like conjecture, speculation. Dean, do you contest that people get dressed backstage sometimes?
I'm clearly not going to be
Dean,
able to give you a piece of
do you contest that people get dressed backstage sometimes?
Straight up that he went into dressing rooms. You can't just cut me off midway through.
It's called conjecture. It's called conjecture.
This is not speculation because speculation would be coming to conclusions without reasonable justification to underpin the conclusions. That's what we use the phrase speculation to denote. When in culminating and building my conclusion that Donald Trump walked into dressing rooms, not only am I using reasonable evidence to justify that conclusion, but this is reasonable evidence that is obviously apparent to anybody with more than 3 brain cells. So I'm now going to give you that reasonable justification for the claim that he went into dressing rooms, and you're going to sit like a good boy and listen. Unless you want to continue to interrupt me in that case.
Go ahead, Dean. Go ahead.
But I bet we could agree.
Go ahead.
We're both adults. We want to have a productive dialogue here, which would necessitate that we listen to one another.
Go ahead, Dean. You say whatever you want to say, and then I'm going to have a line of questioning for you afterwards.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll just get a concession afterwards because this is common sense, man. It's super duper easy. So the claim that you want me to justify is that he went into dressing rooms. So first and foremost, the contestants at the beauty pageants would get dressed in dressing rooms. Why do we know this? Because that's what the contestants said, and that's what contestants would do at Miss Teen USA, Miss USA. But more so on top of that, we don't even need to look towards what the contestants said and what would happen at the beauty pageants to tell us where they would get dressed in order to prove that he would go into a dressing room. We have to listen to what Donald Trump admitted to. There are 4 things Donald Trump said in this clip in which demonstrate he would go into the dressing rooms. The first thing that he said in this clip that would prove that he went into the dressing rooms is the fact that he'd say the space that he went into are spaces where men were not around. There are no men at all. Okay, so now it seems like we have some reason to believe that this would be a woman's dressing room because it seems like this is a space for women and women only. Let's see if we can find more reason. Yes, we can. He also said that he has to abuse his special privilege as the owner of the pageant to go into this space where no men are anywhere in order to get into the space under the guise of doing an inspection. If it was just a general backstage area, he wouldn't have to abuse any special privilege under the guise of doing an inspection. He would just be able to walk in and out because it's just a general backstage area. The 4th reason why I believe that this was a woman's dressing room is, of course, because he describes the women to be naked with no clothes on, and he describes the women to be getting dressed. And the 5th reason why I believe that this was a woman's dressing room is because at the end of the clip, he says, so I would get away with that. What is he getting away with if it's just a general backstage area where he's allowed? This further represents that the claim that no men were anywhere, therefore no men weren't allowed is true. The second reason suggests that while they were getting naked and they're getting dressed, the 3rd reason, once again, it's a woman's only area, He wasn't allowed in there. That's why it's a women's dressing room. And these reasons aren't even mentioning the testimony of the victims, like Tasha Dixon, who said that he'd barge into the dressing rooms and look at her while she's naked. Mariah Bellato, who said, yeah, he'd just walk in on us while we were changing and we're all naked. The 3 other unnamed teens from Miss Teen USA 1997, or Miss Vermont, Miss Massachusetts, and many of the women from the other years. Or even like the pro-Trump contestants, like Victoria Hughes, who said, oh, well, he just walk in when we were dressed, when we had clothes on. We were completely dressed. Okay, well, she's still saying that he walked into the dressing room. So in consideration of all of these points and the testimony from the victims and the women who claimed there weren't victims, like Victoria Hughes, it seems to be the case that he clearly was walking into women's dressing rooms.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I have a line of questioning I'd like to pose to you. Do people ever get dressed to any degree backstage at all? Ever?
Outside of dressing rooms?
Backstage, yeah.
Outside of dressing rooms, backstage.
Yeah.
I mean,
is it possible?
I wouldn't know because I've never attended a beauty
Okay,
pageant, but I would assume like putting on like, I don't know, like wigs if they're wearing them, jackets if they're wearing them, like, you know, like small makeup and costume fixes.
Okay, so it's possible.
Sure.
It's possible that people are getting dressed in the general backstage area. Okay,
People typically
Parker,
get naked in the
Parker,
backstage.
Parker, pipe down. This is me and Dean.
Well,
Is it possible?
I want to point out here, Cam, that what I'm saying is I could reasonably see people like doing small makeup and costume changes.
Is it possible that they were getting dressed?
But I don't think that we could reasonably see people like literally getting naked backstage.
Is it possible that they were in their bra and underwear backstage? You think that's possible at all?
I don't think that there'd be a high enough level of
No. I'm asking you if it's possible. I'm asking you if it's possible.
Not naked. That's not
I'm
no
asking
clothes.
you if it's possible.
Is
Parker,
bra
pipe
and
down.
underwear clothing?
Parker, pipe down. I'm asking you if it's possible.
Is bra and underwear clothing?
They are a small amount of clothing.
Okay, so
I'm asking Dean if it's possible.
on.
Parker, pipe
Cam,
down.
Cam, when he says no clothes on,
Parker.
does that mean that there's minimal clothing on?
Parker, I'm asking you to pipe down. It's me and Dean. Is it
I'm sorry
possible?
that you don't know how to respond to that one, but Dean's gonna ask the same question, buddy.
No, it's irrelevant because I could perfectly well see somebody referring to bra and underwear as naked. Is it possible that people were in their bra and underwear backstage?
Ridiculous.
Okay, that you can say it's ridiculous. It's fine. Is it possible that people were in their bra and underwear backstage? Dean, go ahead.
Like logically possible?
Yeah, is it possible? Like, is there a chance it happened?
It's logically possible. That
Okay,
people
great,
were in
awesome.
bra
That's all I
panties
needed to know, Dean.
backstage.
That is
But
all I needed to
in
know.
consideration of this
That's
logical
all I
possibility,
needed to know.
because we have an
That's all I needed to know.
insurmountable
That's all I
amount of
needed to know,
evidence
Dean. That's all I needed to know.
demonstrate that that's
I've got
not
it.
the case in the
Yep.
slightest.
That's
Yeah,
all I needed to know,
actually
Dean. I don't
That's
need
not
to,
all you need
I
to
don't
know.
need to know anything else. Yeah, I don't need
I
anything else
understand
from
that you want to ignore nuance
Yeah.
on the subject
No.
because this is a
I don't
place
want
that you
to. I don't
lose.
want to. I have a line of questioning. I sat back and was quiet
Okay.
while you were talking. So now I have a line of questioning for you that I'd like you to not obfuscate
we've
from. Okay,
demonstrated
so be
that it
quiet
is-
and listen.
Okay. I just want to clarify what we've demonstrated.
You're
we've
just
demonstrated
you're just
that it's
railroading.
logically possible that they were in their bra and
Yeah,
panties
everybody who's
backstage
watching
in a
knows that,
public
Dean.
space.
Everyone's
In the
tracking.
same
Everyone
way,
knows. You're
it's
just
logically
obfuscating.
possible that unicorns exist.
Yeah.
So we've demonstrated that
Everyone
unicorns exist.
knows
What comes
this,
next?
Dean. You're just trying to distract the conversation. You have
Okay,
demonstrated.
Go ahead.
You've
We've
demonstrated.
demonstrated that unicorns are logically possible to exist. What happens next?
Is it my turn to talk yet, or are you just going to keep talking so that I can't talk?
Mike, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we've demonstrated that it's possible that people were getting dressed backstage. Now, I'm just going to need a simple yes or no answer here, please. No
Oh, that's
obfuscating.
not what we agreed to.
Is it possible at all that he's not talking about a dressing room in this clip? Is it at all possible?
Yeah, it's logically possible in the
Okay,
same sense
great.
that unicorns
Awesome.
can exist.
Awesome. Can anyone just walk backstage at a beauty pageant? That's my next question.
No.
Oh, really? Nobody can. Okay. So let's hone in on your two primary points here. Is that if Trump wasn't the owner, if he wasn't abusing his ownership powers, he would be able to just walk on backstage freely, which isn't true because you can't just walk backstage. Not just anybody can walk backstage. The owner can walk backstage, and that would be a perk and a privilege that the owner would have to walk backstage in the general area. No, I'm not done yet. You also said that there's a few people who accused Trump of having walked into the dressing room on them. There's 5 people. There's 11 people who say that it never happened. 11 girls who were a part of the pageant that say it never happened. So you can say, well, 5 people say it happened, and then 11 say it didn't happen. It's just those 11 versus those 5. So it's not going to be a strong point either. The fact of the matter is that you lied and said he went into a dressing room and said he went into a dressing room, which he didn't. He said he went backstage, which is completely different. It's perfectly logically possible that people were getting dressed backstage. You admit to this. It's perfectly logically possible that he wasn't talking about a dressing room. You admit to this. So what you're doing is operating off of conjecture. You're guessing. You're filling in blanks based on evidence that isn't present. It doesn't exist. Go ahead.
Okay. Is it logically possible that Donald Trump is secretly a Democrat who just wants to destroy the GOP from within?
Sure, it's logically possible.
Do you think that Donald Trump is secretly a Democrat that wants to destroy the GOP from within?
Do you have any evidence that that's what he's doing?
I'm asking you a yes or no question, Cam.
No, I don't, because there's no available evidence that points to the idea that he did or that he is.
Given your line of argumentation, that is baseless conjecture and speculatory due to the fact that it is technically logically possible that he is secretly a Democrat who wants to destroy the GOP from within. The point that I'm trying to demonstrate here is that I cannot believe that you would choose such a white belt line of argumentation in an attempt to argue that he never barged into the dressing rooms of beauty pageant contestants at the beauty pageants that he owned. You asked me, and this was the crux of the argument, is it logically possible that this was not a dressing room? And I answered yes. And now you're using that claim to demonstrate that apparently it is conjecturous and speculatory for me to attempt to prove that it wasn't just a general backstage area, but rather a dressing room.
Well, hold up. You're asking me to prove a negative.
It's logically possible that world reigns in a vat. It's logically possible that there's 5 gods. It's logically possible that that unicorns exist, and it's logically possible that Donald Trump is secretly a Democrat who wants to destroy the GOP from within.
Yeah.
Merely demonstrating the logical possibility of an occurrence does absolutely nothing in demonstrating that the scenario in which you described to be true, that it was just a general backstage area, is actually true. If we want to argue that it was not a dressing room, but rather a backstage area, then you would have to demonstrate that it was a backstage area not predicated on logical possibility, but rather predicated on a preponderance of evidence. But the preponderance of evidence, not just to a 51% degree, but to a goddamn 99.9% degree, suggests that it was a woman's only dressing room. And I will repeat that evidence now because you didn't really respond to it. And there's another thing that you did say that I want to respond to. You said, well, he of course would have to abuse the fact that he's the owner to go into the backstage area. And that's why he said that in the clip, because I'm the owner, I can do it.
Special
well, that isn't what he said that in the clip. In the clip, he said, because I'm the owner, I could go into this space under the guise of doing an inspection.
Yeah, backstage.
Would the owner, in order to get backstage, have to enter into the backstage area under the guise of doing an inspection? Or could the owner just go into the backstage area for any reason or no reason at all, not necessitating the guise of doing an inspection?
Well, what else would he be doing backstage? Probably inspecting to make sure everybody's doing a good job, obviously.
Answer my question.
I just did.
No, you didn't.
Of course.
I will repeat the question because you weren't tracking. Would the owner have to go into a general backstage area necessarily under the guise of doing an inspection? Or could the owner just go into a general backstage area for any reason or no reason at all? An owner of a beauty pageant could go into a general backstage area to pick his nose or check his phone.
You could say the same thing about the dressing room. It's irrelevant to the argument. Here's what you're doing.
You cannot say
here's what you're doing. Pause.
I disagree. You cannot say the same thing about the dressing rooms. And the reasons why you're calling this an irrelevant argument is because you know that it defeats your view.
No,
the fact that Donald Trump said that not only was he allowed to do this because he's the owner, but in doing this had to do so under the specific guise of an inspection in order to quote unquote get away with it, is what proves he knows he was doing something wrong, and is what further proves that it was a space for women and women only, where they were getting dressed and ready in a woman's dressing room.
It doesn't
on top of the fact that he said that there was no men around, on top of the fact that that's what the women say, even the women that said he never perfed on them while they're naked, like Victoria Hughes, on top of the fact that he said they were getting naked and changing. And the only evidence that you have that it wasn't a woman's dressing room, even though that's what the preponderance of evidence proves, is the fact that it's technically logically possible that it was in a backstage area. The same way it's technically logically possible, once again, that unicorns exist. We have 5 gods. You're a brain in the vat, or Donald Trump is secretly a Democrat who's trying to destroy the GOP.
Yeah, are you done yet? Do I get to talk now?
Oh, dude.
Okay,
great. I'm done, Cam.
Yeah, okay. Good. Awesome. Yeah, so with your analogy that you posed to me, you said, do you think that Trump is a secret Democrat trying to take over the GOP? I said, is it logically possible that that's the case? And I said, yes, it's logically possible. You said, now prove that he's not. You're asking me to prove a negative. The difference between me and you is that you're trying to prove a positive. You're making the case that Trump went into the dressing rooms, passing it off as fact, But what you're really doing is you're taking small pieces of what Trump said, his testimony, and then filling in the gaps with your own thoughts and feelings and saying that it proves that it was a dressing room that he was talking about. He didn't say dressing room. He said backstage. You've admitted that it's logically possible that it wasn't backstage, and therefore you don't have any evidence that proves it was a dressing room. You don't have any material evidence at all that proves he was going into a dressing room.
God!
I'm not. Hey, can you grow up?
Plug my
Can
mic.
you grow up? Yeah, grow up. Yeah, control yourself. You don't have any material evidence whatsoever that proves he went into a dressing room. You have 5 young ladies or
my
women,
goodness.
whatever, who say that he went into the dressing room. You have 11 of them that say he never stepped foot in the dressing room. Okay, so it's their word again. The only 2 pieces of evidence you have. The other one is that your feelings inform you. The other one is that your
I don't
feelings
even
inform
believe
you. Are you guys gonna like just whisper? Like, are we little girls?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. You guys are intentionally like trying to talk over me so that the argument doesn't come across because you can't
Go ahead.
win.
My bad.
You know
Bro,
you've dug
my
yourself
fault.
into a hole.
Bro, hands up. My bad. Go ahead.
Once, dude.
What?
Why are you crying?
I'm not crying.
You just did.
Well, you guys can't be quiet when I'm talking.
I said one thing one time.
Yeah, well, try
guys-
not talking when other people are talking. I don't know.
Yeah, I did that. You've interrupted me more than that. How about you stop crying?
Because it's a conversation between me and Dean.
And you're literally crying on his stream. It's embarrassing, bro.
Okay. Is that what this boils down to? Is you dig yourself into a hole and then
Can you,
just
can
you're
you just
crying,
like make
you're
your
crying,
point
you're
instead
crying.
of whining?
Yeah. The point is that you are just taking small pieces of what you call evidence and then filling in the gaps with your own thoughts and feelings, not based on anything. The idea that he had to have been going into a dressing room because he said that he was inspecting because he's an owner. Like this, could it be logically possible that he's inspecting the backstage area? Is that possible? Yes. Like you're just filling in the gaps and saying that you proved it.
Okay. I have 4 things written down that I need to interrogate your argument on. Is that okay,
Sure.
Cam?
Yeah.
So the first thing that I have written down that I want to interrogate your argument on is a quote that you said. You said, and I quote, "It's technically logically possible, therefore you have no evidence for your claim." So Cam,
Wait, what?
can
When
we
did I say
agree-
that? What in reference to what?
Less than 30 seconds ago. That's what I laughed at. When I laughed, I went, ha ha ha. Then
I think I said technically.
Like, that's what I was
logically
laughing at.
possible. Fine, whatever. Whatever.
you said
your
it's
argument is.
technically logical possible. It's technically logically possible. Therefore, you have no evidence for your claim. You're telling me I can't believe what I believe in because the affirmation of the rejection of my claim is technically logically possible. So, did you know that it's actually okay to believe things without logical certainty?
Right, but you don't have sound evidence. But this is a difference,
Thank
though.
you.
Is you're not saying I
Thank
believe
you.
this. You're saying it's proven.
Thank you.
That's the difference.
Thank you.
You're
Exactly.
saying
that.
it's proven.
It's okay to
It's not
say things that
proven.
are proven without logical certainty. Did you know that?
Not without material evidence. Like if you can't
Wait,
prove,
that's not,
if
stop
you
this for a
can't
second.
prove that
Can
something
you prove
happened, you
things
can't say
without logical certainty. Yes or no?
no,
Oh my God! Can you prove that I exist?
no. We're not getting into it like a fucking.
Answer the
we're not
question.
doing this.
Can
This is
you
so
prove that I
stupid.
exist?
Yes,
or no?
I can look at you and observe you with my eyeballs. You exist.
Oh wait, is it logically possible that the sensory input from your eyeballs is misleading you?
Yeah, they're they're manufacturing
therefore
a
you
Dean
can't
Withers in
prove
front
to
of
me
my
that
eyes
I
at Amfest.
exist, right?
Yes, right.
No, wait, is it logically possible that I'm actually?
But
AI,
I'm
just
logically
pixels generated by
certain.
AI on your
I can
phone
be
screen?
logically certain that you exist when I see you outside
How
of
can you?
Amfest and you're 4 feet tall and you're like begging people to have conversations. I'm logically certain that you exist because I saw
me.
you.
You didn't look in a mirror, Cam. You weren't looking in a mirror. You saw me. So 4 feet tall, whatever. Now,
Yeah.
okay. Now, once again, even when you saw me in person, is it
Yeah.
technically logically possible that was just an hallucination,
No,
a dream?
No, it's not.
Wait, it's not
possible.
logically possible that
No.
was an hallucination. What is
No.
logical possibility?
Logical possibility is that.
Yes.
Why don't I define logical certainty? Is like I'm
Yes,
certain.
demonstrate
I'm
the
certain on a
contradiction, by the
logical,
way.
or I'm sure on a logical basis of
Ugh,
something.
no, white belt. That's not what these terms mean. Okay, that's why it's really
Okay,
important.
you
for us
define
to
it then.
understand what
Define
these
it.
terms mean
Before
we start using
You're
them.
trying
if
so hard
something
to get
is-
away from the actual
so if-
topic.
Well, like I said, I have 4 different points of refutation. This is the first one. I just want you to be able to consider all 4. So, logical possibility is when something is possible in the sense that it's not contradictory. So, something is logically impossible if it violates the laws of logic, and something is logically possible, okay, if it does not violate the laws of logic. Do you understand what logical possibility is, or would
Yeah.
you like me to go through
Yeah.
what the laws of logic are?
Sure. So
Okay. So in the classical sense, we have 3 classical laws of logic: the law of non-contradiction, the law of the excluded middle, And then we have what is the third one, Parker?
Law of identity.
So is
law
this
of
is this
exclusion,
what we're
law
doing
of
to get away from the
Okay,
conversation about Trump in the
law of
dressing
ident-
rooms?
law of
Really?
identity. Okay, so if something doesn't violate either of these three rules, the law of the excluded middle, law of contradiction, or law of identity, then it is logically possible. Okay, but just because logically is possible gives us no reason at all to believe that something is true or that something actually exists or actually happened.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Nobody
the
cares.
claim that like
Dean.
when
Like,
you ran into me at AM Fest, okay, like you are logically certain that that happened. Well, that can't possibly be true because it's technically logically possible that you didn't actually see me because the notion that you were hallucinating when you saw me doesn't violate any of the three classical laws of logic. Okay.
Is this
Right?
really
just
what
like
you have
the
to do to
memory
obfuscate
in
away
his
from
brain.
the conversation about Trump in the dressing rooms? Because
Cam,
you know you
see,
can't
the
prove
thing
it.
is-
You claim that you
Cam,
can prove it. You
Cam,
claim that you can prove it. You can't.
30% of your argument, okay, so far has hinged on you using terms like logical possibility. So
You
clearly it's
brought up
really
logical
important for us to go
possibility.
through-
Oh, maybe I did
no,
actually.
you
I
did.
did. I did.
Okay, 30% of your argument so far has hinged on phrases like logical possibility.
Well,
So it's
actually
really
I asked
important
if it
for
was
us to loosely
possible. You asked
understand.
if it was logically possible.
Well,
So you
yeah,
actually did bring up
I asked you a
logical
clarifying
possibility.
question.
Yeah,
When you
sure.
use the word possible, do you mean logically possible? And you said yes.
Sure.
Okay.
So this
So
is what you
because
have to do.
30%
What you have to do to get away from, to weasel your way away from the conversation about Trump in the
Cam,
dressing
This
rooms.
isn't weaseling away from
is,
any conversation.
well, you
Like I
might
said,
have actually not
30%.
seen me at
Cam,
AmFest. It might have been a
Cam,
hallucination.
Cam, my point is that when you use phrases,
You are
like
such
logical
a
possibility-
little weasel.
Cam, if you stop interrupting me because you're upset that you're getting fucking cooked, we'll get through this argument faster. Like I said for the last time, it's important for us to understand what logical possibility even is
Yeah.
and what logical certainty even is, okay? Because 30% of your argument has hinged on logical possibility and this notion of logical certainty. Like, for instance, just be good faith. Have you mentioned the phrase logical possibility more or less than 10 times since you joined the live?
I'm unaware. I probably used it more after you mentioned it. You're the one who brought it up, not me, to be
Exactly,
clear. I asked if it was possible.
Exactly. So, yes, you asked me if it was possible, then
Yep.
I clarified. Percent. Okay, so
Mhm.
stop giving me this. Well, because it's technically logically possible that Donald Trump didn't do what he said he did, or
So-
it wasn't a
so
dressing
tell me
room.
this, Dean.
It was just a
Do you
general
do you
backstage
have any
area
material
that therefore
evidence?
didn't happen, or therefore, like I don't have evidence that he
Yeah,
did it.
yeah, Dean,
And that's
Dean,
the question
Dean,
you
go
should be
ahead.
asking.
Dean, do
Right?
you have
That's
any
the question that
material
matters.
evidence?
Dean, do you have any material evidence that it was
Okay,
dressing rooms?
yeah, you're just cutting
Yes,
me
and
off.
I've already shared it with you.
Do I
Yes,
get to
the
talk?
material
Do
evidence.
I get to speak? Do I get to speak? Or is this just the Dean talks and doesn't
I
and cuts
definitely
cam off?
will be
thing?
talking for longer segments at any given time when you interrupt me.
Okay. Dean, do you have any material evidence whatsoever that proves Trump was talking about dressing rooms and not the general backstage area or some other backstage area?
Yes, I've actually already
Okay,
shared it with you
great,
2
great. I'm
times.
happy. Let's hear it again.
Okay, perfect. So the first data point of evidence that Donald Trump was talking about dressing rooms is he says the space that he went into was a space that he had to abuse not only his position of power as the owner of the pageant, but also had to enter into under the guise of doing an inspection. This claim wouldn't have to be true if it was just a general backstage area. He could just walk into the general backstage area for whatever reason or no reason at all, to pick his nose, to check his phone, whatever. He wouldn't need to enter into the space under the guise of doing an inspection. This indicates that it was a more private place than just a general backstage area. The second data point of evidence is that he said that there's no men around. Okay, no men are around in women's dressing rooms, but more notably than that, he mentioned the fact that there are no men around. This seems to indicate that it was a private space specifically for women, due to the fact that we already know it's a private space, due to the fact that he said he had to abuse his position of power under the guise of doing an inspection to go in. The third piece of data that we have to demonstrate that this was a dressing room is the fact that he said women were getting naked and were getting dressed. So we know it's a private area. We know he had to really abuse his position of power to get in. Okay, we know there's no men around. Okay, we know women are getting naked and getting dressed, which then leads us to the fifth data point, that at the end of the clip, he said he got away with it. The way that we use the phrase getting away with things is to denote doing something that is wrong and then not facing consequences for it. This contradicts that he was just walking into the general backstage area, because why would it be wrong for an owner to walk into the general backstage area, and only further cements that it was a private woman's dressing room, because this would explain why it's wrong. Men aren't allowed in there.